everyone, and please welcome to our channel once again. Today we're going to talk about fear. Fear has been the greatest enemy of humans, which has impeded not only our personal development, but also led to wars and destruction in all parts of the world. Fear produces anxiety, insecurity, and subsequently many mental as well as physical disorders. Today we live in a turbulent world that permeates us with fear from all sides, and it is time that we all should analyze the elements and sources of fear in order to overcome it and live happily in peace, which is the opposite of fear, the greatest enemy of not only the mankind, but all living beings. In this video, we are going to zoom in on the evil aspect of fear and consider the options of how to defeat it. First, let us look at the womb, where fears are conceived and eventually born. Generally, what ignites fear in humans is a threat of harm, which can be real or imagined. The threat can be aimed at our psychological, emotional, or even physical well-being. Although certain situations can produce fear in most of us, we can be made afraid of almost anything by other people. Most fears are generated in our childhood by our environment and mostly by people around us, ranging from our strict parents, for example, or teachers, to peers or police. This is not to say that these kinds of fears are bad. On the contrary, they keep us from adopting behaviors that could bring us harm. Nevertheless, in these situations, children should not be afraid of their parents, teachers, peers, police, etc., but rather they should be taught to fear committing bad acts that would bring harm to others or even themselves. Thence, instead of instilling fear into children or even adults, there should be more focus on expanding people's minds and visions to see their actions and environment in a broader sense. Later in life, we are taught to assimilate other fears, namely through media or people with different beliefs and governing bodies that want to control or manipulate us. Examples of these would be organized religions, teaching us to be afraid of hell or afraid of expressing our sexual instincts, not in accordance with their beliefs, no matter how harmless they may be, and politicians who want us to side with them against their opponents by making us afraid of their rivals. Now we may ask, how can we overcome these learned, or rather imposed, irrational fears and phobias? First, we must ask ourselves, what are we afraid of and why? For example, I had a tremendous phobia of snakes. I was so afraid of them that I could not even look at them in videos, movies, or photos. Their skin appeared slithery and gave me goosebumps. Somewhere I read that the best way to overcome fear is to face it. So I went to a pet shop where baby snakes were sold, and I asked the shopkeeper to place a baby snake, which was not poisonous, in the palms of my hands. I also asked her to be ready to grab it in case I got nervous and accidentally dropped it. She placed the tiny creature in my hands, where it curled up into a shape of a donut, with its head hiding in the center. I asked the shopkeeper why it was like that, and she told me that it was afraid of me. Well, then I asked myself, why the hell am I afraid of it? Then I started to gently pet it, and it slowly unwound itself and began to crawl up my forearm. Suddenly, instead of fear, I started feeling compassion for it, and I continued petting it. Shortly afterwards, I decided to buy it because I started liking it. However, just before making my purchase, I thought, wow, this creature can feel lonely sometimes. So I bought 2 more baby snakes and a big aquarium for them, which was furnished with tropical environment. Yet, there was another challenging phobia I had to overcome, and that was the mice and rats, which I had to feed them. Just like the sight of snakes before, seeing the mice or rats made my skin crawl. But now I faced a condition. If I really liked my new pets, I must care for them and provide them with what they need to live. Mice and rats in this case. And gradually I overcame another fear. This brings us to a point of seeing that once we overcome one fear, we can overcome other fears or phobias, whether they are related or not. But first, we must have a reason for being motivated to do so. Another example I would like to bring up, which is very controversial in the world today, is sexual practices viewed by some organizations as evil, and those who practice them are threatened by the fear of hell or even a corporal punishment here on earth. In this case, we need to ask ourselves objectively, not subjectively, according to some beliefs, what is good about them and what is bad about them. After all, there are no absolutes in this universe, except change, and therefore nothing is absolutely good nor absolutely evil. Good and evil are human concepts that may vary from person to person. In this case, sexual practices in themselves are neither good nor evil. It is the way how we use them that matters, and no one has the right to criticize us if they are not affected by them. In case of political differences, things get a little more complicated. Before committing our loyalty and obedience to some politicians, we need to do some research, not only about them, but also about the topics they are presenting, so as not to be readily afraid of their opponents. Thus, in summary, be not afraid, but be at peace and analyze your fears rather than just blindly be victims of ill-founded fears imposed on you by others. Peace be with you all. And please write down any comments you may have below this video. And we're looking forward to seeing you in our next sessions about different topics. So please subscribe not to miss them. Thank you very much.